The Galactic Council's chamber hummed with tension as representatives from 47 species gathered around the massive holographic display. At its center, the simulation, a perfect replica of a dying star system with 3 habitable worlds and limited resources, awaited the final test. Ambassador Zeftar of the Vorthak Empire clicked his mandibles impatiently. This is unnecessary theater. We all know what the outcome will be. Indeed, rumbled the crystalline delegate from the Silicor Collective, her voice resonating through mineral harmonics. The humans will fail as they always do. Too soft, too emotional. Admiral Sarah Chen, the sole human representative, sat quietly at her designated station. Her fingers traced the edge of her tablet, but her eyes remained fixed on the simulation's swirling galaxies. Around her, the greatest military minds of known space prepared for what many considered a foregone conclusion. The test of ascension had been the same for 3,000 years. Each species seeking admission to the Galactic Council's inner circle faced the same scenario. A dying star system where 3 civilizations competed for the last habitable worlds. Victory meant survival. Defeat meant extinction. Every species before had chosen the path of overwhelming force, swift conquest, and total domination. It was logical. It was efficient. It was the way of the universe. Participants, prepare your strategies, announced the Arbiter, an ancient being whose species had transcended physical form millennia ago. You have 30 minutes to plan your approach. Remember, your performance will determine humanity's eligibility for the Council's inner sanctum. The other representatives leaned forward eagerly. This would be entertaining, at least. Humans had shown remarkable tenacity in smaller conflicts, but they lacked the calculated ruthlessness necessary for true galactic leadership. Their concept of war crimes and civilian protection had become something of a joke among the established powers. Chen closed her eyes and centered herself. The simulation would place her in command of a modest fleet with average technology, the same starting conditions given to every species. The 3 target civilizations were procedurally generated but historically followed similar patterns. 1 aggressive militaristic culture, 1 peaceful trading federation, and 1 isolationist technological society. When the simulation began, Chen's holographic fleet materialized at the edge of the dying system. Immediately, her tactical officers began analyzing the 3 worlds. Admiral, reported her simulated science officer, Planet Alpha houses the Krex Dominion, heavily militarized, expansionist. Planet Beta contains the Tally Commerce Union, peaceful traders with minimal defenses. Planet Gamma is controlled by the Nethys technocracy, isolationist but advanced defensive capabilities. Standard doctrine was clear. Eliminate the weakest first to secure resources, then use those gains to overwhelm the stronger opponents. The Tally would fall within hours, their peaceful nature making them easy prey. But Chen surprised everyone by opening a communication channel, not to issue ultimatums but to offer aid. This is Admiral Chen of the Human Expeditionary Force. We've detected the critical situation in your system. We're here to help with evacuation and resource distribution. Stunned silence filled the council chamber. Several delegates began rapid conversations in their native languages. This was unprecedented. The Krex Dominion responded first, as expected. Human vessel, withdraw immediately or face annihilation. These worlds belong to the strong. The Tally Commerce Union's reply came hesitantly. Unknown vessels. We have no military to offer, but our transporters could assist in evacuations if you truly mean to help. The Nethys technocracy remained silent, their advanced sensors undoubtedly analyzing every detail of Chen's fleet. What followed defied 3 millennia of established military doctrine. Instead of choosing targets for conquest, Chen divided her fleet into humanitarian squadrons. She opened emergency supply channels to all 3 civilizations. When the Krex launched their inevitable assault on the Tally worlds, Chen's forces positioned themselves as shields, taking damage to protect civilians. She's throwing away her advantages, hissed Ambassador Zeftar. This is madness. But something unexpected began happening in the simulation. The Tally, inspired by human sacrifice, started sharing their advanced logistics technology. The Nethys, observing human willingness to protect the weak, emerged from isolation to offer their defensive innovations. Even some Krex military units, witnessing humans die to protect Krex civilians during evacuations, began questioning their orders. Chen never fired the first shot. When combat was inevitable, her forces focused on disabling enemy weapons rather than destroying ships. She broadcast humanitarian aid frequencies even to hostile forces. She offered medical assistance to wounded enemies. The other council members watched in growing bewilderment as the simulation's metrics shifted. Territory controlled, minimal. Enemy forces destroyed, nearly zero. But survival rates across all three civilizations, unprecedented. Resource distribution efficiency, beyond theoretical maximums. Inter-civilization cooperation, impossible according to established models. By the simulation's end, all three worlds had been successfully evacuated to safer systems. The Krex Dominion had split, with roughly half their forces joining a new coalition government. The tally had become the logistical backbone of an unprecedented three-species alliance. The Nethys had shared technological advances that would benefit all parties for generations. Chen's fleet had taken heavy casualties and controlled no territory. By traditional metrics, she had lost decisively. "Simulation complete," announced the Arbiter. "Please state your victory conditions, Admiral Chen." Chen stood slowly, her voice carrying across the silent chamber. Victory condition achieved, 0 civilizations extinct. All three species not only survived but formed sustainable partnerships for their new colonies. The chamber erupted in confusion. Delegate voices rose in dozens of languages, all asking the same question. How could this be considered victory? The Arbiter's voice cut through the chaos. "Admiral Chen, you are the first participant in 3,000 years to achieve a simulation outcome where no civilization faced extinction. Additionally, your approach created the highest long-term stability index ever recorded." Ambassador Zeftar stood abruptly. "This is irrelevant. She controlled no resources, conquered no worlds. By what measure is this victory?" Chen smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. "By the only measure that matters in the long term, Ambassador. Every previous species chose victory for themselves. I chose survival for everyone, and in doing so, made humanity's true victory inevitable." The Arbiter's ancient consciousness seemed to pause, processing something beyond the understanding of younger species. Explanation required. In 6 months, those three civilizations will have developed technologies and trade relationships that will make them regional powers. In a year, their alliance will be strong enough to defend a dozen systems. In a decade, they'll be capable of helping the next dying system without any outside intervention. Chen's voice carried quiet confidence. Other species chose to win a battle. Humans chose to prevent all future wars. The implications rippled through the chamber like shockwaves. Every species had maximized immediate gains while creating future enemies or dead civilizations. Humanity had sacrificed immediate advantage to build something unprecedented, willing allies with the capability and motivation to spread stability rather than conquest. The Silicor delegates' crystalline form chimed softly, their equivalent of a gasp. "They've created a system that scales. Every world they save becomes capable of saving others." The Arbiter's announcement echoed with finality. The Galactic Council recognizes humanity's admission to the inner sanctum. They have demonstrated the rarest form of strategic thinking, victory through empowerment of others. As the chamber filled with stunned murmurs and grudging applause, Chen gathered her materials. The greatest military minds in the galaxy were finally beginning to understand what humans had known for millennia. Sometimes the greatest victory comes not from defeating your enemies, but from turning them into friends. And in a universe full of potential conflicts, that might just be the most powerful weapon of all.